Hi, it's Maija here with my Worldcon haul. I'm filming this from my temp apartment, so sorry if there's an echo or the lighting situation isn't optimal. I'm gonna be back in my apartment in a month or so. For now, we're gonna do my Worldcon haul. I got to Dublin on Wednesday night, and Thursday was when Worldcon started. I did a bit of sightseeing and book shopping on Thursday and spent a little time at the con, but the first books in my haul were bought from the bookshops in Dublin. The first thing that I bought in Dublin was In a Glass Darkly by Sheridan Fanu. I bought this from the Secret Book and Record Store, which was this used book and record store. To be quite honest, I probably wouldn't have bought this if I had seen the dealer's room and went to other bookshops first. This is the only book of mine that sort of, maybe I shouldn't have gotten it, just to not get one more book. This is a collection of horror short stories. I've read a couple of these. This one has Carmilla, which I really enjoy and I'm glad to own. And then I've also read Green Tea from this, so it shouldn't take me too long to read this. This sort of got my book shopping started. The first short story in this collection is Green Tea, and the first sentence of that is, "Though carefully educated in medicine and surgery, I have never practiced either." This is a ground floor apartment and people are constantly walking by and making me feel awkward and also like distracting me because of movement. But let's continue. Next I went to Hodges Figgis, which was a great bookstore with many floors. I didn't even realize how many. I don't think I visited all of them, but I did go through the science fiction and fantasy section and picked up one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and that is Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This is a story about a woman who accidentally releases the Mayan god of death and has to go on a quest with him. This is set in 20s Mexico. And the first sentence of Gods of Jade and Shadow is, "Some people are born under a lucky star, while others have their misfortune telegraphed by the position of the planets." Then at Hodges Figgis, Reija and Bree joined me. I will link their channel down below. And we went to Forbidden Planet, which had a bunch of collectibles and graphic novels and comics. And I picked up Outer Darkness by John Layman and Afu Chan. And this is volume 1, Each Other's Throats. And this is a science fiction horror comic. It's about this crew of this one spaceship and what they encounter. The first pages look like this. So those were all the books that I picked up on Thursday. I also went to see the Book of Kells exhibit and the Trinity College long room of the old library, which was great. I'm gonna talk about more of that in my Worldcon highlights video, but I picked up one pen from there. This has an image of the long room and a bust of Oscar Wilde dangling from it. I just thought that was somehow a bit kitschy and fun, so I had to buy the pen. I also bought this gorgeous Book of Kells bookmark from the gift store there. And speaking of bookmarks, I'm just gonna quickly show you that during the con I got bookmarks from Reija from the Book Finch. Very sweet little finch there with books. And then I got Thomas from SFF 180, his bookmark, which is double-sided. Very cool. So let's move on to Friday, and on Friday I picked up 2 horror books. I went to the dealer's room and the Cheeseine stand there. I had browsed through a couple of their books on Thursday, and on Friday I went and bought a few. And this is Wildfell, a ghost story by Michael Rowe. And this one caught my attention because it had like a haunted house ghost story vibe. It says the house has kept its terrible secrets and its darkness sealed within its walls. The crumbling estate called Wildfell, soaring above the desolate shores of Blackmore Island. And the premise of this is a man buys the house, of course the estate, and moves there. And the first sentence of Wildfell is, "Have you ever seen a ghost?" And the second thing that I picked up from the Cheeseine stand was an anthology. This is The Humanity of Monsters, edited by Michael Matheson. And this one had a lot of interesting authors and authors that I like, and stories from them that I haven't read before. There's people like Catherine Valenti, Gemma Files, Silvia Moreno-Garcia, Sofia Samatar, Yoon-Ha Lee. And the first story of this anthology is Tasting Gomoa by Chinelo Onbualu. Today is the day the new wife arrives. That day I also picked up a couple of samplers. I went to this Orbit blogger party and they were giving out samplers of Annalee Newitz's new book, The Future of Another Timeline. I haven't read anything from Newitz before, so I'm looking forward to trying the writing out. From the dealer's room that day I also picked up a sampler of Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I have never read anything from Leigh Bardugo before either. And from the art show I picked up this lovely magnet by Afua Richardson. This is a mer magnet. On Saturday from the dealer's room I picked up The Forgotten Beasts of Eld by Patricia A. McKillip. I actually have no idea what this book is about, but it's the winner of a World Fantasy Award award, and I really enjoy McKillip's writing. She writes this very lyrical fantasy. I've read a couple of her books now and I want to read more from her. I think I picked this up from the Tachyon stand, but I'm not quite sure. They had Lavi Tidhar's books there and they published those, so it might have been Tachyon stand. And I actually didn't notice, but Reija from the Bookfinch noticed when I showed this book to her that it was signed, and it was signed by Gail Carriger. And we were confused as to why, but she actually wrote the foreword for this edition. And the first sentence of The Forgotten Beasts of Eld is, "The wizard Heald coupled with a poor woman once in the king's city of Mondor, and she bore a son with one green eye and one black eye." And then Reija and I and a subscriber that I met at the con, their online nick is Liren, went to Chapters, which was a very big bookstore with 2 floors, and the second floor had all used books and a very big used science fiction and fantasy section. I actually didn't have any time to look through their new books on the ground floor because we were upstairs the whole time. We got there like an hour before the store closed, so we didn't have a lot of time, but I found 3 used books from there. I picked up another Patricia McKillip in the Forest of Serre. Again, I have no idea what this is about. Lyrical fantasy. Let's read the first sentence. "In the Forest of Serre, Prince Ronan crossed paths with the mother of all witches when he rode down her white hen in a desolate stretch of land near his father's summer palace." Well, that's not gonna turn out well. The second book that I picked up there was The Tethered Mage by Melissa Caruso, which is the first in a trilogy that I think has since been completed, so I'm excited to try it out. I have no idea about this. Magic is scarce. Those born with power are strictly controlled, taken as children to serve in the Falcon army. There seems to be 2 main characters. One of them is a mage, another is a noblewoman. And the first sentence of The Tethered Mage is, "Here, my lady, are you sure?" And the last book that I picked up there was The Queen of the Damned by Anne Rice, because I own the first 3 books of the Vampire Chronicles. This one is the 3rd, but my copy was really battered, a little paperback that I had bought at a flea market when I was a teen, and it had a white woman on the cover, like in a black tank top and a crown, and The Queen of the Damned is Egyptian, so I'm glad to have a better edition. So this is a book that I have already read, and the first sentence is, "I'm the vampire Lestat." I also picked up from the freebie table on Saturday Titan Tasters 10 Tempting Morsels from 2019 to 2020, so this is a Worldcon exclusive sampler of Titan books' releases. I don't know if any of them have already come out. Yeah, there's The City in the Middle of the Night, but then there are also things that are coming out next year. So we are nearing the end. On Sunday I picked up 2 books and this one anthology leaflet thing. I went to the Golan's booth because they had signed book plates by Ellen Kushner, and I hadn't known that she was signing there at the booth. I knew that she was signing on Monday for the con itself, but I had already left on Monday, so I wouldn't be able to attend, but I didn't know she was signing at the Golan's booth. But anyway, she had also signed book plates, so I went and got one. And of course, because I got a book plate, I needed something to keep it safe in, so I bought another book. I bought Rawblood by Catriona Ward. Her newest book just won the Shirley Jackson Award. It was called Little Eve, I think, but this one sounded more like up my alley. For generations they have died young, and now 15-year-old Iris and her father are the last of the Villarca line. So there's this curse on this family, or some sort of disease, that they have to be in isolation, and they are confined to their lonely mansion on Dartmoor. So again, a mansion, and the curse of the bone-white woman who visits in the night, leaving death in her wake. Sounds great. Ooh, there's like a family tree, family line on the first page. Oh, and the first sentence of this is how I come to kill my father. So I want to read that soon. The second book that I picked up on Sunday was Turning Darkness into Light by Mary Brennan. This one is like a continuation to the Lady Trent books. I think it's a standalone that focuses on Lady Trent's granddaughter, and that's all I know about it. I haven't finished the Memoirs of Lady Trent series yet, but Kelsey from the Fancy Hat Lady Reads said that these were sold at the Forbidden Planet stand. Mary Brennan had tweeted that they had these a couple of days before the official release date, and they were signed. The first page is actually something like from a paper or newspaper or an article. Stupendous find in Akia, newly discovered cache of draconian inscriptions. Lord Glynley's triumph. True history will be revealed at last. That's the headline. And the last thing that I picked up at the con was this free leaflet called Intelligence, Artificial and Human, 8 science fiction tales by Japanese authors. And this was given away for free at the Japanese fandom stand. And it has, like it says, 8 science fiction tales. The first short story is by Taiyo Fuji, who was standing at the stand and told me, it's free, you can take it. So that's my brush with famous authors at Worldcon. But the first story is called Prayer, and the first sentence of that is, the Malacastrate teamed with bioluminescent Noctiluca blooms. So this pile is everything that I picked up at Worldcon. So I may freak out a bit during my August reads and receipts when I calculate my TBR totals, but I don't regret it because I wanted to buy books at Worldcon. That was like my goal. So let me know if you have read any of those books. I will link all the booktubers that I mentioned in the description, and then I will film a Worldcon highlights video later, and I will try to link all the booktubers in that video who I met during the con. I had a great time with them, but I will leave that for that video because I think this is quite long enough as it is. But that's all from me for now, and I'll see you in my next video.